no friendship is worth losing your marriage over. That's where you got to be wise. You got to be aware. And you got to do whatever you can to protect what you build.
Hey, Mr. Friends, welcome back to another episode. I am your girl, your host, Cece. As always, I'm joined my husband here. What's going on, babe?
A lot is going on. How you doing?
I have my amazing co-host here looking fly.
Yeah, she made me dress up today.
Where you going? I made you. Okay.
Listen, as I have said many times in the past, in this podcast, she dresses me up. So we're so happy you're tuning in for another real, another raw, another relevant conversation about love, about relationship, and about everything in between. If this is your first time tuning into our podcast, this is a weekly podcast where we talk about the love that we're building, the life that we're living, and obviously our relationship and our family.
That's right.
And I'm hoping that this has been bringing a lot of joy, a lot of amusement, a lot of lessons to you guys. So thank you for joining in.
Yeah, so grateful for having you guys with us today on this beautiful
absolutely.
Saturday.
And as always, before we jump into the topic of the day, we'd like to share our blissful moments. Now, that's either something that we did or something that happened to us during the week. So, what's your blissful moment?
Well, my blissful moment is it has nothing to do with me, but it just has to do with you and the girls.
What did I do?
Love seeing the girls when you come home after work.
Okay.
Them picking up the lunch bag, daddy's laptop bag, your work bag, and your jacket. It's just so amazing. You see them. One got the lunch bag running inside the kitchen with it, and the other one got your work bag. And I just feel like, it is something that I really hope and see for a long time because it is such a great moment to me.
Yeah, I get the greatest welcome.
You do.
Yes.
And I'm jealous. I'm really jealous because they're with me 24/7. They homeschool.
Well,
so yeah,
what you should do is step out of the house from time to time and then go in and they'll welcome you. But they do welcome you. When you go out sometime and
Get my
I
nails
stay home
done.
with them. When you come home, actually we
Yeah.
all go out and welcome you.
But
You haven't been coming out to welcome me when I get home. I'm just gonna say that.
well,
I think we've built a special bond
Right.
with our children, and
Right.
you get to spend a lot more time with them than I
Yeah.
do. But every moments that I get,
yeah,
and listen, I'm the tickle monster still.
he's a tickle
And
monster.
I'd go crazy with kisses sometimes.
Yeah.
So hey, listen, our kids are our kids.
Right.
And the better we make our relationship with them, the less likely that we'll run into problems
Yeah.
later on. So
Yeah.
listen, this is part of our planning. Anyway.
Yeah, it is. Show your children that you care for them, and then in return, you'll get
They'll
it
care
back.
for you.
They'll care for you.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So that's her blissful moments, but obviously it's all about me. So
It is about you.
yes. Anyway, so listen, this week we're back with another deep, another real and necessary conversation. And today we're getting into the topic that a lot of couples sometimes have to deal with. Opposite sex relationship.
Listen.
You know,
Okay.
Now, listen, if you were with us last week, we talk about protecting your relationship from outside voices.
That's
those
right.
those unsolicited advices that we get, people that would
That
butt in
sometimes
into
you
your
don't ask
relationship. The people you should trust around you. We talked about that a great deal. So this week, obviously, we're tackling a related topic. Now it's more like the people that can actually hurt your relationship.
Yeah.
By going in way too deep.
Right.
So, hey, listen, let's be honest. Not everyone wants to see your relationship win. And this week, yes, we're going even deeper because sometimes the biggest outside voice isn't a nosy family member. It's not a coworker. It's not a neighbor. Sometimes it's someone who's already in your circle.
Okay.
A so-called friend.
Oh boy.
Who doesn't respect your relationship or even someone from your own church.
The sisters of the church.
Sisters of the church.
Or the brothers. Okay.
Yes. There's things that you don't expect to happen in church, but they do.
There's a lot of things that happen in church what they do, but because listen, let's be real. Sometimes, yes, I agree with you. Your own best friends might have a thing for your spouse without you even realize it, right? Because you're so busy kikiing with your friend, thinking that okay, she's my sister friend, she's my girl, she won't go behind my back and do things. But lo and behold, your sister friend or they got something going on, and sometimes it's that sweet sister from the church, like you mentioned earlier.
Yeah, it's
right?
church people.
Who is always a little too eager to be around your husband. Okay? Your husband. Listen, I've seen them. All right?
No sweet sisters ever eager to be around me because I'm not that type.
I've seen them, and I know a lot of us have seen them.
Or it could be that brother in Christ who suddenly become an amazing listener when your wife is going through something, you know?
I've had a lot of compliments.
Hey, listen.
I'm just saying.
I'm not saying you can't trust anybody. But what I'm saying is that be wise.
Hello.
Not everyone clapping for your relationship is happy for it.
Hello, somebody.
Right? And I want to say this right off the bat. This conversation isn't about controlling your partner or saying that your partner can't have friends.
Right.
Yeah, I think we should have people that we can hang out with.
Yeah.
This is about wisdom, about knowing what's healthy and what can lead to trouble down the road.
Yeah.
You know, you gotta have it in you to be able to say, you know what, this is not quite what would work for our relationship.
Right.
So why do opposite sex friendship sometimes become a problem in relationship? Right?
I know me personally, you know, I have emotions.
Yes.
Right? I think because sometimes emotions can be tricky.
They can be. You know, you might start off thinking, you know, this is just my friend. But over time, that connection can shift.
Yeah.
And what start as an innocent conversation can turn into something deeper before you even realize it.
Yeah. Let's be real, you guys. Sometimes emotional intimacy can be just as dangerous, right?
You're right. I mean, they can sometimes be even more dangerous than physical cheating.
I agree. And affairs don't always start with attraction. Sometimes, right? Because most of the time they start with a connection if we think about it.
Oh, yes. You know, and this is where you find someone sometimes listens and someone understands. And suddenly you find that you start feeling closer and closer than you should. And this is where the problem starts.
Yeah.
And even when you have good intentions, that doesn't mean the other people does.
Right.
Some people step into friendship already hoping for more.
I always say that, baby.
Yeah, so
I always say that.
You know, they're just waiting for the right moment.
Yeah.
Because let's be real, not everyone respects your relationship. Some people are just looking for the smallest crack,
right?
So they can slide right in.
Yeah, I always tell you this. I always say to you, baby, not everyone that you see, you know, what you see is not them. Not always, right? Sometimes you can be, because you are Mr. Nice Guy.
Yes.
You are Mr. Nice Guy. And this is why sometimes it can be frustrated.
When I'm nice to people?
When you're too nice to people, if I'm being honest.
That's why I'm not nice to people.
Because when you're too nice, people tend to take advantage. And because you just being this black and white guy, but versus where them, they see more than just you just being you.
Yes.
You see what I mean?
And
they see you being like, you know.
This is where I know you've pointed that out many times, and I do my best to make sure that I know that this is something that Cece has advised me on and coached me on. Let's make sure that I'm not doing it. Because yes, you're right. Because to me, it may seem, you know what? Hey, listen, I'm just friendly, and there's nothing behind it. Because at the end, I'm coming home to my wife, but someone else may see it completely different.
Yeah, because they have intentions. You don't have intentions, right? Yeah. You're just talking to that person, not even thinking about anything else. But to them, they may see it as you flirting with them.
Yes. And here's the thing. Most people don't plan to cheat or cross boundaries. It happens because they weren't paying attention. You know, they let their guard down. Maybe they ignore the signs. And before you know it, they were in situations they never meant to be. And this is where, you know, to one, it may seem, you know, it's innocent.
Right.
But to the other, that may be a door that gets open for them to come in.
Yeah.
And before you know it, you're in a place that you don't want to be in.
Yeah.
So that's why I'm not as nice as I used to be anymore.
And this is why you should be. I mean, I'm not saying for you to be mean to people out there, but I'm saying you need to keep your,
yes.
I
mean, obviously it's important to, we can't be mean and rude to people. Of course
not.
But we can present ourselves in a way that says, hey, there's a limit.
Yeah.
Right? And
people should know too. One thing I'm realizing is people don't really see that, okay, this is a married man, this is a married woman. I am going to make sure that I don't get myself in between them, right? And sometimes they just want to break a happy home. And this is why we have to be so careful of who our friends are, right? You can't just assume every friendship is safe. You can't. And you cannot. You have to be intentional about protecting your relationship at all times.
Absolutely. You gotta always have your guards up.
That's what we gotta have, boundaries, because we talked about that last week on our podcast. And if you have not listened to it, please go back and listen to it. Okay.
Absolutely.
Because first off, if you're keeping secrets, then there's a problem.
Yes.
Okay. If you're hiding it from me, that's a problem.
Well, you gotta think of why you're hiding it. Right?
Yeah.
Or you're deleting texts, or the phone gets flipped over if your spouse is,
if I
or your
ever
partner
see
is
you
coming
do
by.
that and I see you being suspicious about something, I'm gonna know there's something wrong.
Yes.
And I'm the type of person where if I get I do have an anger. I don't have it anymore. I work on my anger problem. I would take the phone and throw it off the wall.
Yeah, she could do that.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So, but yeah, when you find yourself doing little things like this, or maybe you're waiting until your spouse step away so you can respond or take a call, or all your calls you're taking them outside.
It's just shady.
You know that? Yeah, that's madly shady.
That is shady. Why would you do that? Like, you gotta have some kind of respect for your partner, right? Because you can't. Like, if I know you got something going on, because I do audit on your phone from time to time. I audit him without him even, well, technically when you audit someone, they should know that you're going to check on their phone or audit them.
Oh, my phone is just there. You can go through
I do from time to time. It's not like I don't trust my husband. I do trust him. But sometimes I'm like, you know what? Let me just have
I'm not flirting with anyone over text.
Let me see who has been texting. That's what I'm saying. Not that I'm looking for. And I do have my own little thing when I go and check his phone. He doesn't know what I do, what I check.
Listen, that's why I have zero girlfriend. In fact, I have no friends. Mm-hmm. I don't have time to be texting or messing with anybody. I already have enough happening in my life here.
You do.
This woman is she's a lot, and I have 2 other ones.
Oh wow, I'm a lot.
You know, you have 3 women that you have to cater to. When do you have time to get to another one?
Baby, just say I'm a lot.
You're a lot.
Wow.
But you know, and this is where I'm wide open. She could audit my phone whenever she wants, and there's nothing for me. And you cannot have secrets.
You cannot. Also, let's talk about how some people, they do have best friends, right?
Yeah.
But I truly feel like, just me, my personal opinion, like your spouse should be your only best friend. Although I do have my mom as my best friend. However, I think your spouse should be your only best friend. Respect your partner's feelings is so important as well, because you have to understand, if your partner tells you that, hey, listen, this friendship makes me feel uncomfortable, what are you going to do? Are you going to
stop that friendship? Because you have to be able to make a choice. You choose your relationship over your friendship. And I think sometimes people have difficulty choosing one over the other.
There's this TikTok video that I saw a few months back. It had to be last year that I saw this. It was this guy who has a best friend, and of course she's a girl. He's married, right? And then the wife was looking for, I don't know if it's
it could have been a skit or something.
If it's a skit, I don't know what it was, but it was very interesting, which made me think about it. It was like the wife, was like the husband took the friend to the market. And let's say to Publix, for instance.
Yeah.
Right? Riding the
Couldn't
front
the friend
seat.
go to the market by herself?
Doesn't have a car. Because
Uber.
The friend said, you know what? Let's say his name is Marco. I called Marco because, I needed to go to the store.
Uber.
So Marco came and picked her up. Let's say her name is
Jessica.
Shirley. Shirley sounds better to me. And then Marco went and picked up Shirley. And then here comes the wife. Let's say her name is Martha. just a name that popped in my head for some odd reason. And then Martha's like, hey, Marco, I've been texting you all morning and you never responded. And Marco's like, well, I had to go get Shirley and take her to the store because she needed something at the store. And she's like, why are you taking my best friend to the store? Why couldn't she call an Uber or call somebody else? Then Martha said to the best friend, why are you calling my husband to come pick you up? Don't you have other friends? Yeah, that is so wrong. Like, if you know that you have other friends and you know Marco's married to Martha, you shouldn't be calling a married man to take you to the store. I don't care unless if it's your sister, your mother.
Yeah, I mean
that's different. But calling a husband to go take you to the store? Oh no, ma'am. We were gonna end that friendship right there because you gotta set boundaries. You can't do that.
She loves to ride in his car.
Listen, I feel like that's not the only thing.
And obviously, they were most likely trying to teach people a lesson by playing.
I don't know.
You have to have the boundaries, and obviously, I don't think a husband's responsibility is to drive a best friend, lady friend around. That's why Uber exists, right? Now, let's talk about one-on-one hangouts. I've known people that go and hang out with with their lady friends. They have friend nights out. I don't have that stuff. Hey, look, this might be controversial. I know that. But in our marriage, we don't do solo meetups with opposite sex. Listen, I've had cases where I have to deliver some photos to ladies, brides
Client.
that we've taken pictures for.
Right.
Oh, sis is tagging along.
Not all the time.
Or she'll check with me right before I got to that
Baby,
place. Hey,
it's not like that. It is not like that. I trust the client. That's different. Like, I'll be like, baby, here's the address. And do you need anything else?
and check with me after you drop it off.
Well, I just want to make sure you're safe.
Yes, but we don't do solo meetups. And yes, if I'm meeting up with someone, if Cece's meeting up with someone, she'll bring me along. If I'm meeting up with someone, I bring her along. And that's that. We do that out of respect, and not that we don't trust each other.
Right.
Cece has this saying: she doesn't trust them.
I don't. I never do.
She doesn't.
I don't.
But that's why it's important to do whatever you need to do to prevent yourself from getting into certain situations. And yes, these days it's very easy for others to accuse, especially men, of doing things that they shouldn't do.
Right.
I keep my distance, and my wife is there.
As you should.
Right?
As you should.
And this is where within your relationship, you have to have certain norms.
Right.
And the norm source is that, yes, no one-on-one meetups with the opposite sex unless the other partner is there.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. And I think, respect your partner, respect what she asks or what he asks for.
Yeah.
And then there won't be any talking. And here's the thing too. Sometimes if there's something wrong, we can feel it. Us ladies, we have this thing where we can feel when there's something wrong. You have that woman
intuition?
We do have that woman intuition, baby. Trust me, we do have it. If they say, hey, listen, I don't feel comfortable you talking to this girl, you better listen. You better listen because
I have listened. Believe
intuition.
me, I have listened. I've during the early days of us being together, I've had to take some people off my phones.
Listen, they were trouble.
I could have gotten tricky.
They were trouble then.
And named them different names. But that would be bad.
This guy.
No, but I've had to take people off my phones.
Yeah. But they could have been, it could, of course. There's a lot of things that if you didn't do them, it would definitely cause an issue in our marriage. Right?
Yes. And I'm glad I did.
Yeah. And like I said before, our intuition, and you mentioned that our intuition never lies. Okay. When we, the ladies, we know that there's something wrong with this girl, being a fly flying around your man and constantly wants to be around this person.
Yeah.
Just don't ignore it, because a lot of people lose their relationship because they didn't listen early on.
That's why I listened real early on. I was told, hey, listen, this person could be trouble. I don't want you talking to them. I'm like, yes, dear. Zip, take them off my phone.
It wasn't like that, right? It wasn't like that. My husband know that. We had countless talk about that, until you do something about it.
I mean, one time I got a random call and I picked it up. Oh man, that was the last call I picked. Yes. So, and it's good to listen early on. And sometimes, those people could be church members.
They are church members.
Right? Just because someone calls you brother or sister in Christ, that is, doesn't mean they have pure intentions.
Listen, there's been a lot of them around. Listen, when we got married, there was a lot of them.
Yeah.
All year in the 2000s.
Yeah.
That group. And God says, let there be no more, and wash them to a different state.
I don't know what she's talking about.
I'm just saying. But yeah, like there's a lot of people that, that's a big one. There's a lot of church members that sometimes, you feel like you can trust them, and comes to find out they're really
church
not.
Friendship are supposed to be sacred. People in church shouldn't do bad thing. That is. But yes, you gotta pay attention to church members, because in church you're constantly around people of the opposite sex, and you're serving together, you're going to Bible study together,
you're praying together,
you're praying for each other together. And listen, here's the thing: when you're vulnerable in a spiritual settings, you open your heart.
And sometimes your heart, they'll just slide right in.
Listen,
causing you sin.
Absolutely. And if you're confiding in a member of the opposite sex about your struggle, asking them to pray for you, and spending a lot of time together in ministry, that can easily cross a line.
I'm just saying.
And we talked about earlier connections. Those things don't usually start with attraction. Sometimes it's a connection, and over time, that connection gets stronger.
It gets stronger.
And don't get me wrong, having a church community is important.
It is important.
Listen, I'm all about, let's make sure that we have the right people around.
But you gotta set boundaries. I don't care whether if it's, I love my church people. Some of them. Okay, we human. We have love of Christ for them.
Absolutely.
And I think sometimes, unfortunately, that's where the major issue is. Because we trust them, we believe in them, we believe them being around our spouse, thinking they're not going to do anything wrong, right? We don't think that, oh my God, sister so-and-so is such an angel. There's no way she's going to do XYZ with my husband or my wife, right? So we really have to be cautious.
You got to pay attention. This is where you got to watch out for the little innocent church flirting.
Oh boy.
Right? And some people use church talk as a way to mask something deeper, right?
Yeah.
Sister, I've been thinking about you. I had a dream about your sister.
Yeah, like God told me you're my future wife, even though you've already married.
Yeah.
Like who said that to someone's husband? Like God told me you are my future wife, even though you already married.
Or you're my church wife.
Right? Or the best one is, wow, your spouse is so blessed to have you. Like, what are you trying to say? Okay? Because a lot of these sometimes there's something behind it. They're not just saying it.
Sometimes. Now, listen, I'm not here to say all church people are bad. There are people that make these comments. They come from a good place. But you got to watch out for them.
You have to.
Right?
You have to.
Listen, church does not make people immune to temptations. Believe me, not even priests or pastors are immune to that. So here's a big one. If you're more excited to see someone at church
than your spouse, then we have a problem.
You got to check yourself.
Listen, you got to pray.
And you got to pray.
Okay. You got to pray because if you're in ministry, right? Because we know a lot of people in ministry.
Yeah.
You got to make sure you're not forming deep one-on-one connection with the opposite sex, right? It's so important because you can easily get distracted.
Yeah, you got to go to sister so-and-so's house to pray for them by yourself while their spouse is at work.
Yeah.
No, you got to avoid that. This is what that one-on-one connection means.
Yeah.
Avoid forming those connections.
Yeah.
Now, if you're doing things, do it in group. If you're going to pray for a sister so-and-so, get a few other sisters with you. Or if you're a brother, get a few other brothers with you.
Or include some, just
to go
do
pray.
Mix.
Or get a mix of people with you. A small group and go pray for sister so-and-so.
Right.
So do things in group because one thing you want to do is avoid having you and that person in a place alone.
Right.
And listen, if you find yourself doing this and your spouse says, hey, listen, that's off. You need to listen.
Because we do know a lot of, not in our community, but different religion where,
it's common for people to go pray for others.
Right. And sometimes their husband, usually it's the wife that does a lot of those ministry.
Pastors do a lot of that stuff. Leave the wife at home and go help sister so-and-so.
That's true.
I think our priests go see people one-on-one as well.
Our priest is older. That's different. And our priest is not married. So I'm talking about the pastor is more like, right? The pastors.
I'm talking about anyone that could be in a position that they don't want to be in.
The pastors, the brothers, the sisters, the men in ministry, they're the one that have a home. They have a family. So therefore they have to be careful so that they don't get tempted.
But you're saying if someone is not married, they could do whatever?
I'm just saying, no.
Listen, it's knowing what makes sense and do the best you can to not get into a situation that can cause issues. Right? Because at the end of the day, your marriage should come before any church connection.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
So keep everything in the open. Right?
Yes.
If your partner doesn't know about that friendship, that's a red flag.
Hey, listen.
Right?
Yeah.
If you're friend with so-and-so, live it out in the open. My wife knows this way she can see if I'm doing something that makes her feel uncomfortable, she can come out and says, I don't like this. And then I'll have to make some changes.
Yeah, because
but don't hide it.
Yeah, don't hide it because energy is everything, right? Energy is everything. And listen, and you have to be mindful of energy. If you know that you start catching feelings or comparing them to your spouse or thinking about this person too much, then that's a sign that, you know what, you need to go confess to your wife and you need to
Well, that'll be a tough confession. Imagine that, man, my friend, so-and-so.
Baby, you know that some guys will do it, right?
I've been feeling her. That's a tough confession. And listen, if that was me and I get to that point, no, I'll just cut it off.
Mm-hmm. Pull back.
That'll be a tough, that confession will cause as much problem.
But because you thought of it, you just have to confess, whether it's to God or...
And listen, it could easily be, you know what? So-and-so, I felt like things were getting weird between us. And if you don't see me...
what if your wife is like,
don't hear me,
what thing was getting weird?
And then I come out in the open. But I present it in a way that brush it off, but make it seem like, you know what? I'm being the big person. And I'm so-and-so is getting a little too close.
Before someone says something to your spouse, right?
Yes.
Because
listen, I'd rather be the one that says it than so-and-so. Because if so-and-so go and says it, then it's me who's keeping a secep. Right. Then I'm the bad guy. No, I'll come out first and say, hey, if you don't see me hanging out with so-and-so, I'm going to keep my distance with so-and-so. I felt like things are a little weird.
Yeah.
And so if you don't see so-and-so come over to...
up, huh? What if you were the one checking them out?
Not covering myself. No. And listen, I have no business checking someone out. That's me. Listen, if I'm nice to you, that doesn't mean I'm checking you out. I'm just being me. I'm coming home every night. But, you have to make sure that you check yourself. Yeah. And if things are getting weird between you and someone... You got to, and this is where you have to really make sure that you hold yourself accountable.
Absolutely.
And not only you got to tell yourself, hey, this doesn't make sense, but if your spouse come out and says, this doesn't make sense, I don't like this friendship, right? Then don't get defensive and start saying that, no, you're misunderstanding, this is not what happened, it's not what you think it is. No, take a step back and ask, is this friendship worth the tension in my relationship?
That's right. Yes.
And you'll get your answer because you'll realize that your relationship with your wife is more important than if you're in the right mindset. If you already checked that, then that's a whole different questions. But you got to take a step back and ask yourself, does this make sense?
Yeah, because if you're choosing a friendship over your marriage, then that's a problem.
You can say that again. That's a major problem.
Yeah.
But you know what? At the end of the day, protecting your relationship is a choice.
It is.
It's a choice. It's about being intentional. The world is full of distraction. Let's face it.
Ooh,
you turn around, there's this big butt lady there just shaking it, and you see it.
And you go on Instagram.
You go on Instagram, they go them boobs in front of the face. You kind of have no choice, But at the end of the day, you always have a choice. Although it may seem like you don't, you always have a choice. And if you're not careful, you can lose a good thing because you weren't paying attention.
Right. That's true.
Right? So if you're in a serious relationship, you got to remember your partner's peace of mind matters more than any friendship.
That's right.
Love isn't just about feelings. it's about actions. That's where you got to check yourself as to what it is that you're doing. It's about making choices every day.
Right.
You know, and those choices, they need to say, I honor you, you know, I respect you, and I will not put you in a position to fail.
Right.
You got to remember, you always have a choice.
Yes.
Yes, our feelings can be strong. And I know, guys, sometimes they said we can't control certain things. Believe me, we can always control things. You just have to take a step back and ask yourself, what am I doing?
Right.
Right?
Right.
Because at the end of the day, no friendship is worth losing your marriage over. You know, that's where you got to be wise. You got to be aware. And you got to do whatever you can to protect what you're building.
Right. Hey,
You know, if you take me, for instance, yes, I can't say my marriage has been a walk in the park. Yes, we've had our tough moments. We've had difficulties. But, man, I have 2 beautiful and lovely daughters that we're raising. I have this wonderful woman that supports me in everything. Shoot, there's no one, and I mean no one that can get between us. Listen, I may be a nice guy, but believe me, you take a step, I'm running. Yes, you know, because you got to always put a lot of value in what you have.
Right.
Because many people find themselves in a position where they do things they shouldn't do. It's because they don't really understand what they have with them, what they have right now. Right. And if you know the value of what you have, man, let me just not say it.
Yes.
But you know what? We've shared a whole lot with you guys on this podcast in terms of how important it is to make sure that you don't let outsiders get into your relationship.
That's right.
But you know what? We'd like to hear from you. You know, how have you been handling relationship or friendship with the opposite sex in your relationship? If you have it, you know, what are the challenges, or how do you get around it? Or have you had to maybe stop a relationship because things were getting too weird? You know, I'd like to keep the conversation going in the comments. And don't forget, for those of you who haven't subscribed, make sure you subscribe so you can get notified when videos like this one come out.
Yes.
And if you know someone who's dealing with some outside relationship, please share this video with them. I think they should hear how important it is to put some value in what they have.
Yeah.
And guys, until then, I want you to take care of your spouse, take care of your relationship, and be good.
That's right.
Peace.
Bye.